There are two different ways that employers frequently misclassify employees, and you may be misclassified. One is being classified as an exempt employee versus non-exempt. The other is being classified as an independent contractor as opposed to an employee. Let's break both of those down. The default is that if you perform work, you are entitled to overtime, meal periods, rest periods, that kind of a thing. But certain employees are exempt from those overtime requirements or meal period requirements. It could be because you're a public employee, but it also could be because your employer has classified you as either an administrative or an executively exempt position. There's also professional exemptions, but I'm not going to get into that here. And it's the idea that you earn enough and you have the job responsibilities that really place you in management. That's kind of the simplistic way of looking at it. And there's a multi-factor test, and this is actually the responsibility of the employer to prove each of those factors. But the bottom line is just because you get a salary doesn't mean that you're exempt necessarily. You could be, but it doesn't mean that you are. And I think a lot of employers make that assumption incorrectly. Well, we're paying them a salary, they're exempt. That's not the analysis. So that results in the employee getting underpaid is my point. And the other type of misclassification is when an employer intentionally, well actually both may be intentional, intentionally classifies somebody as an independent contractor, and I put that in air quotes, an independent contractor as opposed to an employee. And they do that so that they can avoid having to pay employer portion of taxes, other forms of insurance such as workers' compensation or other types, and so that they can say that you are not afforded the full protections that workers receive, whether it's discrimination or harassment or wage theft and that kind of a thing. And this, makes sense from a financial standpoint. I mean, most companies, if you look at the balance sheet, the single largest line item that's their cost is the cost of labor. So if you can cut corners on how you pay your employees, either by not giving them all the wages that they're entitled to or just calling them independent contractors so that you don't have to pay for all of the costs that are associated with employees, then it's a simple formula. Pay less, make more. That's better for the bottom line for businesses. So that's some of the motivating factors. Some people know that they're intentionally being misclassified as independent contractors, but they feel like there's nothing they can really do about it. If you want the job, these are the terms. This is what you're expected to sign. And in both cases, whether you're misclassified as an exempt employee or you're misclassified as not an employee at all, but an independent contractor, it really comes down to an issue of control. How much of your job is controlled by your employer? How much of a right do they retain to control the way you do your job, even if they don't exercise that right? Or outright, how much do they tell you how to do your job? Again, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, and all of this requires a much more robust analysis. So please give us a call, but if you think you've been misclassified, or either as an exempt employee or as an independent contractor, that may be something that we could help you with.